choice in this? No, never have me a choice. It's always like, go woman. It's like, yeah, okay. Hi, everyone.
Good evening, everybody. I am Gina B here with Mama D on our regular night, Thursday, in the Fox
Nothing
Den.
regular about us.
We have had a pretty crazy week. You know that this is our third show this week. We had Dr.
Mhm.
Gabriel Cousins, we've had Dane Stevens, and now we have Rebecca Dawson, who is in Down Under.
She down under into the green room right now, but also and I have to
Down
say,
Under in
we
Australia.
had Gabriel, we had Dane, and now we have Beauty after the two beasts. Not that the guys were ugly or anything, but Beauty,
She's really pretty.
she's cute.
But she
And
was
now I got her blushing back there.
she's laughing at us. Yeah, we were a little silly before the show started. But what else is new? All right, I am going to play the intro video for our guest, and she will be with us as soon. Good evening and welcome to the Fox Den. I am Gina B, and the place to be is here with me and Mama D every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight we have Rebecca Dawson. She is an international channeler, speaker, and author based in Perth, Australia, who has been in practice for more than 25 years. After facilitating over 2,000 private consultations, Rebecca's focus on the last 10 years has been on the research and understanding of the shifts that are occurring for Earth and humanity. An ability to accurately observe the human energy field has led to an interest in the mapping and documenting of the changes occurring in the human energy field and understanding how these changes impact upon human capacity, functionality, and experience life. Many hours of clinical observation and hundreds of accompanying channeled documents are revealing the synchronicity and pattern of change that is sweeping across humanity and the planet itself. Rebecca is now devoted to bringing this information into accessibility so that humanity can start to have a conscious understanding of what is happening, why it's happening, and what can be created from this emerging capacity. With the assistance of her team of masters, Rebecca facilitates workshops and events around the world that allow more understanding to occur and more information to emerge. But after 25 years of relaying this information to humanity, there is a renewed urgency, according to the masters. Humanity is in the midst of making a massive consciousness shift that is becoming more evident daily. A shift that will have us living and experiencing life from that place of totality, oneness, not from the duality that separation has marked our current reality. Her new book, The Agreement, has been written to help us ease into that place of highly elevated conscious awareness and prepare us to undertake this shift. It's a roadmap for embracing life from this new level of cosmic mind. And we welcome you to the Fox Den, Rebecca. And here she is.
Hello.
Hello. And we were talking about her lilies behind her before, so we were.
Yes.
I don't know
Very
why.
fragrant.
Yeah.
And with my eyes, no glasses, I thought they were lilacs.
Oh.
Yeah. Lilacs are spring flowers. I mean, it's spring, just not quite yet. They usually out around Mother's Day.
It's spring for us. For you guys in Australia, it's fall. Yes? Ish?
Yes, just starting. Just starting to cool down. Yes, thank goodness.
It's just starting
Oh, it's very warm.
Yeah, we had another couple down under, and it was 113 degrees or what
Yeah.
not. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I kept offering to send snow because I'm up here in Quebec, Canada, and we have a lot of it. Not as much as last year, but we have a lot of it this year. I'm willing to ship it worldwide, not a problem. I'm nice
I do love snow.
Yeah.
You can have it.
Yeah, you can have it. I moved to Pennsylvania to get away from the snow from Massachusetts. But talking about your book, and like I said earlier, we'd had it's our third show this week, and usually I read the book right before the show. We usually have maybe one, maybe two a week, and which is fine. But I did read 800 pages for the other two shows, and I just, with this cold, couldn't really focus because this book is a definite more in depth, more. It needs its due diligence. It needs full attention to the concept of what you're saying, because it's not light reading at all. The concept is not light, and it's very involved and very evolved. And I want to give it the right thing. What was that?
That wasn't me.
Did
My,
we beans
my,
before the
my,
show again?
my sister is stupid because her dogs are out on the back porch because they go out back to their business. And I didn't close the window because it's actually kind of nice. And I'm not sure because my sister has 3 dogs. She has a Tico, a little sausage dog, a German Shepherd, and an Australian Shepherd. And I have a feeling that was the little one.
Well, that was cute. But okay, but getting back to Rebecca. Okay. Now in that intro video, it did say that you were a channeler.
I'm going to close the window.
We had accompanying music today.
So when did you first realize though that you were a channeler?
Well, our concept of channeling changes over time. I think the more awakened we become as humans, what that means to people, it changes and becomes something different. But my first channeling experience that I was really aware of was when I was about 18, and I was giving some advice to somebody one day. They were going through a relationship breakup, and all of a sudden I felt very expanded in my energy. My head felt huge, like it was full of cotton wool, and my voice changed, and really there was another conversation happening that I was witnessing that seemed to be happening through me that I didn't feel that I was necessarily a part of.
But you could hear it, and so you were present. You weren't.
Yeah,
You didn't.
it
Really
was kind of like moving to one side and watching it unfold. So actually, when I came out of it, I was disorientated because I thought I was over here, but I was actually here. Because my awareness had literally moved to one side, and I was watching this conversation happen.
That's really powerful. And usually, like every other channeler that I've ever spoken to and worked with, they don't remember afterwards. It's like they just totally are gone. Like they're totally taken over. So that's pretty advanced.
Yeah.
So
I
did you
wouldn't
think
call
you were
myself a
going
trans
crazy?
channeler.
Yeah.
I had some concept of what channeling was because I'd always been able to see like energy fields and auras and other things since I was a young girl. So I did have some understanding. My mother was wonderful, actually. I was raised as Catholic, but she was aware enough to put me into meditation classes when I was about 9 years old to kind of help me
Love that.
Understand. I know she was amazing, like that, very supportive.
Yeah.
How to kind of, or what it all is. So at least I had some semblance of reference point because she didn't know really what to say. So she thought, well, I'll put her here. And then.
So the gifts actually didn't then come from her, but she at least, I mean, thank God the way she is, and I think thank God the way society is now to help people, in your position, especially from a young age.
Well, I think she was probably very intuitive too as a child, but again, she wasn't believed when she said things. So I think she wanted to support me in a way that she wasn't supported. So I knew what channeling was. I just didn't ever kind of aspire to that or plan for it. And I kind of had this idea that, channelers were, old ladies dressed in white with crystals hanging around their neck in spiritualist churches that had really earned their way there,
Yeah.
And that was actually the greatest issue at that time for me, was because of my age and because I hadn't gone through the hierarchy of spiritual initiations that you're supposed to. At that time, the understanding was supposed to go through to get there. What right did I have to be doing this? It's dangerous. You shouldn't be, and so on.
Well, it could be dangerous. I mean, it could be potentially, for some people. But obviously, if it happened to you, you accepted it, you went with it, you went with the flow, you've been in with the meditation and all that kind of stuff. It was the right time.
Well, it must have been, because it wasn't something that was planned. It was something that just spontaneously happened. And I think the greatest openings that happen in our lives are the spontaneous ones. The greatest moments we have in our lives when we meet our, your partners or your friends, or you find the house that is meant to be yours. They just happen like that.
Yeah, when you step aside and
effortlessly.
you get out of the way, the right thing happens.
Effortlessly. That's right. And so really the challenge for me in the following 5 or 10 years after that was to actually learn how to relax into it rather than try to control it. And
Yeah.
it's kind of the opposite of what we think we should be doing when something like that happens.
Oh yeah, of course. It's like you want to grab the reins and run, but yeah, you're right, because it does. The universe gives you these gifts for a reason, and the universe will tell you when you can use them too. I mean,
Yep.
you will get used to it. You will harness it, over time. But acceptance is, the big thing too. And so from that moment, and how that all evolved. So from then till now, how has your thought process changed overall?
It's changed a lot because I really saw myself as, somebody that if I was a good person and held my vibration high and did all the right things, that somehow I would be able to do more of this and bring through more information, higher frequency stuff. But it was really a sense of separation in it, in that I was here, less than divine, and something else that's a greater consciousness than me was making that choice basically to come through or not.
Yeah.
So going back to my Catholic roots, a little bit like sitting there and waiting to be bestowed upon.
I know.
Bestow your gifts upon me.
Yeah.
And what
mother of the new Jesus.
Yes. So again, it's that same paradigm. And what I've learned over the years is that, and this is what we actively teach and encourage people to understand, is that channeling is not really a case of bringing something outside of yourself in. It's bringing the totality of everything out of you. And so that's really what we focus on now with the human design, is cosmic wisdom or information is inherent in all of us. How do we access that? How do we give ourselves permission to access it? Because to me, that's what channeling really is. That's what it's become for me, is accessing what's available to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a practice in relaxing into that space to be able to deliver it.
If someone comes to you and they want to ask you a question, for a channeled answer, you would be able to just give them an answer. Like, I mean, you would be able to talk to the right person, channel the right person for, I don't even know the question. Think of a question.
Well, I spent many, 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 many years in doing private sessions like that. Yes.
Yeah. So, okay,
really,
let everybody know the difference between a channeler, a psychic, and a medium. For those people who don't understand, most people of our audience does understand the difference, but especially channeler. I believe, I have to think, in a year you will be our first channeler. If memory corrects. No. Okay, so old woman has my brain.
So as I understand it, I mean, the way I experience that differently, this is the best way I can explain it from my personal point of view, because everyone has a different perspective of what these aspects of ourselves are. From my own personal perspective, when I used to be called a psychic back in the day when I was a kid, it was very much about bringing my attention out in front of me to be able to see. Okay. And so I guess what you might call using the third eye, I tend to look at it as using different parts of my brain or bringing my consciousness to different parts of my brain. So when I'm looking at someone's aura or mapping someone's energy field, or there's another entity coming in front of me, it's all, the energy is very much projected forward, very much into the future as well. When you're reading someone and, what's going to happen with this job or marriage or whatever, it comes out in front of you. It gets linear. Yeah. And you can feel the strain. It's quite an energy to do that. It takes a lot of energy to do that.
Yeah,
it does.
Yes.
You're gonna have to excuse me just for 1 second. I have to go get my dog now.
Okay.
Well, at least I know now I can get my dog if he starts barking.
Yes, so exactly. I have a dog and a cat, and they so far are behaving themselves. And as y'all heard, my sister neighbor, her dog, one of her dogs, not sure which one, but she'll find it funny that she's got somebody howling on it, because her dog is like this big. It's a sausage dog, but genius is. So is Lacey happy now?
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
Just push back to my side. I need
switch
my
it.
side. Yeah, I left her on the bed because, she's an old girl and she huffs and she puffs and she sits over here and she makes all kinds of noises. So I figured I'd leave her on my bed so she'd be quiet during the show. But now she's in there, she just
Yeah.
had to bark. She wants
She
to
probably heard Miss May howling.
maybe. Maybe. I apologize. I do. So what did I miss?
We
No,
were
no, we
chatting about dogs.
paused.
Oh
So we
yeah.
think. So we were just talking about the difference between being a psychic, a medium, and a channeler. So I mean, all of those attributes are. We all have the capacity for that,
Yeah.
and to use all of it. So being psychic for me is more like projecting your energy out into the space in front of you, whether it be to read someone else or look into a future timeline. And there's quite an energy and a momentum behind that, but there's a sense of separation too.
Yeah.
So mediumship and channeling, I guess mediumship I dabbled with a little bit in the early days, and I actually didn't enjoy it. It wasn't for me. And I think the way that I personally define mediumship as distinct to channeling is that mediumship was bringing through a particular entity or stream of consciousness or a deceased person that had passed over, usually fourth dimensional. And with that, I found that quite uncomfortable because bringing that kind of information through, you get the whole emotional vibration and content and everything with it. And I found that incredibly, incredibly disruptive to my physicality. I found I needed recovery time afterwards. I felt physically ill afterwards.
Dehydrated, stuff like
I
that.
remember once going to someone's house to do a house clearing, actually. This is back in the day when I used to do things like that, house clearing. And what they didn't tell me is they'd booked me a month before, and I turned up, and the day before their daughter had committed suicide in the house.
Oh.
And that was a very uncomfortable experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had got all of the physical effects of what had happened, the emotional turmoil. And I just, from that day, that I was not doing anything like that. I think that was the last house clearing I ever did too. That's it. I'm not doing this.
That I would say
I don't blame you. A lot of people can't handle that. We were giving Bob hearts when people come. He came into the chat room and
I have full respect for people who feel that that's their calling. That's not for me.
Yeah.
Channeling for me,
different people have different gifts for a reason.
That's right. And the channeling for me is going straight into cosmic mind to bring forth information about the mechanics of our reality and so on.
You said that's like fourth dimension, but you channel more fifth dimension.
Multidimensional, really.
Yeah.
Which is really looking at what the constructs of reality from the outside looking in. How does this work? How do we operate? How are we designed? What's the bigger picture? So we tend to look at the macroscopic view rather than the personal. It can be applied to the personal, but if we understand the mechanics of how everything works, it just gives you a bigger picture, a bigger view.
Everything is connected. Everything is part of something else and woven and intertwined. And that's fascinating. And that's, again, why I didn't try to rush through reading this book, because it's fascinating. There was a part, I did get to this part where you were talking about compasses. And it says that if you move into this void space, okay, and because I got my glasses on, because I'm old. All right. When you move into that void space, because you're in the void space, there's no distance. When there's no distance, there's no measurement. When there's no measurement, there's no direction. When there's no direction, there's no compass. So when if you're there to ask us, does this mean that my electromagnetic field is changing? We would say your electromagnetic field is becoming more spherical. Now you're going into the difference between a spherical and toroidal way that the energy flows, but an actual compass won't work around a person that is in this dimension. Have you tried the true
I have heard that. I have heard that before.
Because I would like to see that.
Yeah. But I think perhaps, we tend to always look at our lives in terms of which direction am I supposed to go in? Am I on the right path? Am I progressing? Am I regressing? And so on. And when you sit in that real center point of yourself, that no longer becomes a question.
But this the book makes you just go, you know, really things that you're thinking about. Now, also, when you are channeling and you channel the masters, who are the masters, and why do you think they chose you?
Well, the masters is they're a group energy that come through, but they also come through individually with their own flavor, their own personas, depending on who the audience is and what the topic is as well. So we have Serapis and Jermaine and Kusumi who come through. And Serapis, for example, really likes to get into the nitty-gritty of mechanics of reality. And he likes to do things very correctly and very definitively. Yeah. I find that,
people. Yeah.
I think Jermaine really talks about the personal experience, the human experience, the heart experience with all of this information. And Kazumi just loves to come in and bring a little bit of sense of humor and lightness to conversations. But when we get into really, really what I call meaty concepts, they tend to come through as a group energy because it's much more amplified and we can bring through the bigger concepts.
Is it more difficult for you when they come individually or when they come in as a group, or it doesn't really make a difference?
It doesn't really make a difference to me anymore. Sometimes I find the group energy easier now because it's less defined. So it's less of a definitive change between my own personality and another personality. But I think I'm so integrated with it now. It's really just, I really just lean back and there it is. It's less disruptive. I could really be doing it in any moment and you wouldn't know.
Well, I kind of hope you do, actually. But do you ever, do you debate? Or do they debate?
I used to in the early days, actually. In the early days, because when information started coming through that was well beyond my understanding of metaphysics and well beyond what I thought to be true about reality, I would often be having an argument in my head. So it's like, when you have a conversation and there's two thoughts going on?
Yeah.
It would be like that. So I would be in front of an audience or a group of people or what have you, and some information would be coming through. And I would be going, whoa, hang on a second. You can't say that. Right. People won't agree with that. Or wait, that's the opposite of what we know to be true. And so there'd be all this little argument going on. But there was a real sense of, well, we're not really interested whether or not your brain or memory system agrees with this. This is about what we can bring to the conversation. And when I first began doing sessions for people, sometimes there would be information that would come out and I would be quite worried about that. It's like, you can't be that direct with somebody,
Well,
should you be saying this?
If they're coming to you for information and for answers, I think and I believe wholeheartedly that the psychic medium channel or whatever card reader should give that information, because then again, it might seem odd or it might seem rude or it might seem something to us, but to them it might not.
Well, I think for me it was a wonderful exercise in being okay with not knowing and not being that editor or that filter that says, well, this is beyond my current understanding, so we're not going to say that.
Yeah.
Or this is beyond my current understanding, so let me get comfortable with that first before I share that with other people. So it really was a case, especially when this first information started coming through about 10 years ago about this shift into 5D and what that means and what that's going to look like. It was so radical at the time for me, and probably for people listening to it, that if I wasn't willing to just be in agreement with whatever came through, that information wouldn't have arrived. I wouldn't have allowed it to. So it was really, getting your own ego out of the way. Don't make yourself the fact checker.
That is sometimes very difficult.
That's exactly it. Why are you going to overthink this? This is coming to you for a reason to be out there,
Yeah, and most of the time I'm hearing it for the first time while other people are hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
I can imagine anyone.
Do you remember who came through first, or did they come through as a collective first?
Oh, it was Serapis that came through first, probably
Okay.
for the first 6 to 8 years, and then Jermaine, and then Kusumi last. But you know, in the very beginning, when I first started channeling, I had a lot of different streams come through. It was almost like I hadn't learned then how to not be such an open bandwidth.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I fully understand that. You know, I mean, I do paranormal work, you know, and paranormal investigations. And if I don't ground shield and shut myself down, I'll come home with all those people, you know, and entities. And it's like, that's not happening, you know, and that did happen quite a bit in the beginning, but you learn, you know,
Yeah,
you
that's
learn how to
right.
ground and shield. But now, once you knew that you could do this and such, now what kind of training did you pursue, or did you have any specific teachers or mentors that you worked with or under that you like particularly liked or disliked?
You know, I tried really, really hard to get a mentor and a teacher, and I even traveled to different countries to try and, you know, if I read a book that I thought resonated, or I found another channeler that had written something, I really did my best to find someone, because I was still in that paradigm, the whole teacher-student paradigm.
Mm.
And it just never happened for me, you know, and there was a series of personal ego experiences of rejection. And, you know, there was a lot of discouragement, I think, probably because of my age. I was pretty young. And I really found that quite discouraging. But of course, now I realize how perfect it is,
Yeah.
because I haven't been influenced by anybody else's way of seeing. I haven't been influenced by anyone else's way of channeling. And that's been perfect for me, because the information that's been coming through
Right.
is you know, a book we bought out quite some time ago now, The New Human Experience, about the switch from 3D to 5D and how that's changing the chakra system and the different glands in the brain. I mean, that's becoming a conversation now for other people, but at the time it was unheard of. And I remember, and I remember pitching some of these. I remember pitching some of these concepts at a big channeling conference that happened in Sedona some time ago, some years ago, and nothing.
Yeah.
So
It's funny when
now
Gina
it's
asked
a conversation.
when Gina asked if you had any teachers or mentors, all of a sudden all I heard in my head was that she didn't need them.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
We were on the same page. Mom and Dee and I were always on the same
It's
page.
scary.
It is.
It is.
But I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, she doesn't need it. You
No.
got that at such a young age. Your mom helped. I know wholeheartedly. Your mom helped by putting you in with, you know, meditation, the right crowd. You know, that this is your journey and your journey only. You know,
Yeah,
you
it
don't
was
need too many.
tricky.
Yeah.
It was tricky, and even now, sometimes, you know, I think it's a very human thing. If you get excited about a new bit of knowledge or information that comes through, or a new way of seeing, it's such a human thing to look for agreement in that everywhere else,
Yeah.
and go, okay, who else is saying that? Oh, good, I have confirmation that this is accurate and that this is valid. I never got that confirmation all the way through, and I think it was the best possible thing for me, because now I don't doubt anything that comes through.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing is, you are the confirmation for other people who are we're just starting the path. You are the confirmation for other people to say, hey, this is what she said, but she didn't need it either. So maybe I'm not such a, you know, so yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Kathy says it's amazing that her state of channeling, she picks and chooses what she wants to deal with. Nice to know you can still control what information is coming in somewhat.
Well, yeah, I think
Point.
I think in terms of what you choose to engage with, for me, I know you mentioned, I think this is a really important point actually for a lot of people. You mentioned before, Gina, about kind of protecting and grounding. I think I did that practice for many years, and what I found eventually worked really well for me actually was this idea that if you completely expand and take over the space, only that which is congruent with you can stay in that field. And that's what I do. So I completely take over, and then only that which is resonant with my vibration can be a part of that experience.
Yeah,
It's a natural
I think you get onto a level, right? So where your vibration is on this level. So if you only allow things in on this level, which is a good level. For me, when I hear a spirit coming in the room, I get like these tones in my head, my ears, and high, medium, and low. I would not want to resonate with the low tones that I get. I would not want to invite that person, entity, thing, being, whatever in. No. But if up here, on those levels, okay, I would do that. But if you could control it and you can have only those things in that level, or your specific space, I think.
Right. So we always say expansion is the new protection, because you expand out, and then everything has to resonate at that pitch. If it's anything less than that pitch, it will have to leave the space, or it will have to transform and become that pitch. And the same,
not bad.
Yeah. And that's how I used to clear space as well. But when I go into a big audience, for example, if I'm doing a seminar or a workshop or something like that, people often say to me, well, how do you deal with people that are disruptive, or people that disagree with you, or want to heckle you, or whatever? And it's exactly the same premise, because every time I do an event or something in a public space, I completely go in and take over the space.
Yeah.
Fill the room. And then what will happen is that anyone that's not in resonance with that will either fall asleep straight away, or have to go to the bathroom, or their phone rings and they've got to leave. And everyone else has moved into agreement. So it's a natural kind of process.
It makes sense. Do you do anything? Okay, example, if you're sitting there and having a conversation with me and Gina, not generally online, but in general, having a conversation with people, does your, I'm going to call them, because what I call mine, does your dream team come true at will, or do you have to sort of like do a meditation or focus yourself, that you sort of, is it a pre-planned channeling, or does it just sort of sometimes happen like, I got something to say?
Well, it used to be. I think when I first started, I really had to concentrate and get into the right space. And no, because it's so fully integrated. It's with me all the time.
Now,
all the time.
You can see auras. Can you see auras online, or do you have to be in the physical same space?
No, I don't need to be in the physical same space.
Really?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's I actually, if you don't mind, I'll describe how I do that.
Yeah,
please.
Because when I was a child, I used to, it was that same energy projecting out the front. It would take a lot of energy to see an aura, and I used to sit there and practice, and it felt like quite a strain, like trying to see something really far away. And what I have learned as I'm much older is that the different, and this is through many years of doing clinical practice with mapping people's energy fields coming through a natural medicine clinic to see what's happening with the changes. And what I learned is I would go in, and then I'd seen a client and I could look at their energy field, and then they might come in 2 weeks later, and all of a sudden, after doing something with them, I couldn't see it. And I was thinking, oh, I've lost the ability to do it. I can't see anymore. And then I would hear this voice. It's like, relax and drop. And what I would do is I would actually drop my vision. And what that would mean is I would kind of bring my energy back here and relax. And then all of a sudden I could see. And every time this happened and I dropped my vision, I was actually seeing into a different layer of their energy field. So that person's vibrational frequency was shifting. So what you would see would change, and the energy field started to reveal itself. So there's all of these other aspects to us that you can't see regularly, but now that the vibration of humanity is increasing, they're all starting to appear. Things are appearing that you think weren't there before, but we just couldn't see them. Wow. So with that, what I learned is, instead of projecting out the front, to kind of relax back. And then how it appears for me is it doesn't appear as physically with my eyes anymore. It appears as, those old overhead projectors, with the acetate sheets, and you would have acetate sheets layering. So that's what it looks like. I get a layer of mapping, and it comes into my mind like an impression, and I can see it clear as day and draw it. So I just want to share that with people, because
coolest thing.
It's not necessarily about seeing it physically. That's why you can do it remotely, because I can look at you and then boom, there's the overlay, there's the impression. And it's just
so
there.
what do you see when you look at Mama D?
Oh,
Crazy
Mama D,
woman.
I was looking at YouTube. Well, Mama D, what's really interesting
blushing.
about your field is that you carry a lot of, let me explain it this way
Mhm.
without getting too personal. You carry a
I'm
lot.
an open book, so no
Okay,
problem.
you carry a lot. I would liken this to almost like a surrogacy. You carry a lot of pain and trauma for somebody else, because your field itself is actually quite clear, and there's almost an agreement that was made where you're now carrying somebody else's, but it's getting heavier and heavier.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
Would
not
that be
natural.
somebody here? Would that be somebody here or somebody who's crossed? Like how do you mean that I'm carrying?
No, somebody that you're with.
Okay.
Somebody that you're with quite frequently. And it's interesting because you have the absolute capacity to do that, but while you're doing it, it's not getting resolved.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of a weight. And it does give you a bit of fogginess in your head as well. So I'm looking at you, the side of your head towards the window. There's a lot of heaviness that sits there, and you get a lot of strain down this side as well because of that. So that's just what I'm picking up very quickly.
Thank you. Okay,
yeah.
Wow.
So it's time to give that back. Sorry, without sounding bossy.
Wow. Pretty spot on.
Sound bossy.
Because that person, and you know who it is actually capable of dealing with that now.
Okay.
That is pretty amazing stuff right there. Dare I ask? I don't know. I have the cold from hell. I think it's blocking everything. I have every kind of cold medicine in me under the sun.
It's interesting, Gina, because there's just so much more yet. There's so much more yet. And that's what we want to say to you, is you've actually only really just started. And I think your ability to ignite the gifts in other people shouldn't be underestimated, but the spotlight needs to be on you a little bit more moving forward. Rather than facilitating these conversations, actually start to deliver these conversations, because you're really just warming up, and you will come to a point where it's not really stimulating enough for you, even though you have a great love for humanity, to discover that in other people. It will be something that you really want to start having your own conversation about.
I think you're amazing.
I
mean, honest to God, these are conversations that we have had. That me and Mama D, we talk in depth about these things all the time. She's always telling me, trust more. We'll do reading shows and stuff like that. And she's like, trust more. And I always said, and I know I have a gift. I know I have a gift. I know, but I never really polished it because I'm a paranormal investigator. I have to rely on my equipment. I love using the equipment, and I love being able to, have proof positive. Say, here, look, you can hear it, you can see it, it's hitting that thing, So I have that proof positive. Whereas if you're using abilities, it's harder to prove that, unless someone, if you're something comes to you. I see something, and then it's validated on a piece of equipment, then you can say yes. Other than that, it's like,
in this moment, what we want to say about that is that it's less about proving that it's true, and it's more about delivering the messages.
Right. And this is what I tell everybody that comes on the show that's a psychic that is giving the messages and such, but that's the difference between the psychic community and the paranormal community. The paranormal community is all about research and development and proof, where the psychic community is all about delivering the messages and getting that message out, and and honing in on your skills and helping that community and joining that community. And it's like there's going to be this big global shift like that. I hope you like that on that video, what the shift happens. But
Very good.
global shift that is absolutely coming, that these conscious beings have to unite, and I know it, and I see it, and I feel it, what's coming,
I think there's a lot of energy around you at the moment, because you have the ability to communicate that information very clearly.
I thank you, but but we're here to just discuss you. So
You wait a minute, hang on. You started this because see the thing is, this is what Gina
I
does,
just
right?
asked the question.
She always asks about me first, and she goes, well, and the thing is, when she hears something that it's kind of like a confirmation of everything that she kind of knows and has been told. It's like, well, okay, let's go back for you.
Yeah,
I'm just sitting here quietly going, yeah,
I know. The day will come. The day will come. It's coming. It's coming. And it's time when it's time.
But I have to admit that since the first time that I met her, she has expanded. She does trust, whether it's me shoving her over the cliff, or her accepting it. Probably a little bit of both. She is good.
Everybody in this room is great. I mean, this is like a wonderful.
But here's the thing that I like. I love it when people try and put you into a box. Like I said before, those who don't know the difference between psychic, healer, channeler, paranormal investigator, there's all kinds of titles. And one thing I have an issue is with people sticking you in a box. Because you're a channeler, you can only do this, you can't do this, or you're a paranormal investigator. For me, everybody's a healer.
I would love to have the people in the paranormal community have a more expanded mind.
However, well, send them off to me.
It's a bunch of drama. It's always a bunch of drama and people wanting to be movie stars.
Well, it's exciting, but you talk about identity and having different labels. Why can't that just be the nature of human?
Yeah,
why can't we just be humans? Because humans are all of that. We can all do all of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But some people,
honestly,
some people give themselves permission to explore those gifts.
Yeah. That is hopefully where the world will be. I think
we'll get there.
In that direction.
Some people will get there kicking and screaming, but we'll get there.
We will. I think these next generations are so multi-directional and multifaceted, and it's going to be very difficult for these following generations to have one identity. I'm a blacksmith, I'm an electrician, I'm a banker. I'm a human. I get to do all of these things and more. Yeah. That's when we become whole again.
Yeah, I see it in some of the kids now. I call them kids because I'm ancient, but I see it in some of the young ones now, where they when I was in school, you had to focus on one specific thing, and there are people who still do that. Focus on one specific thing. Yeah, and okay, I have to ask. How old are you? If you don't mind answering.
I'm nearly 45.
That's still a baby. There you go. Okay. But now people, it's like my sons. They love to cook. They wanted to do cooking for a long time. They want to go. Now they're into construction, and this is what they're enjoying doing. And then they want to go from there. They want to build their own home. They want to, and they're expanding because I have two, and they seem to be balancing themselves out, the amount of work that they do. But it's going different things. My daughter's the same way. She has plans of things that she wants to do, and she's it's not just that one thing that people want to do. And the thing is, we as grown-ups, and for my children and their children and everybody else's children to come along, you have to allow them the ability to expand. And a lot of people, but no, I want my child to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Nope, my parents are great that way, because my mom was an artist, my dad was a builder. I'm like everything, and but it just comes to me. I just knew how to instinctively do it. It wasn't I was taught how to tile. I know how to tile. It wasn't that I was taught how to build things. I watched my dad build, and I'd use his tools at first before I had my barrage of tools, but he wouldn't step in. He wouldn't stop me unless I was going to cut my finger off, then he'd be like, oh, you might want to use a guard, he would just let me go because, you learn by doing. And, but I could see it. I can see it broken up. I can see this desk broken up. I can see a room, poof, like all separated, where all the studs are, where the jacks are, where the headers are, where I see it in my head. And then then you slap on the finish, and then I can finish it all, and I can mural it, and I can paint it, and I can do all those things, And it's like my dad always said, you can do anything. If someone else can do it, that means you can too.
Wait a minute, that's
Do you
not
want
the
to come
exact
visit?
phrase. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
She's building. Look, she's
cool.
building me a castle technically with all this because Gina has an ability to swear. Not when we're on the air, but
No.
she has it. Yeah, but I'm Canadian, so American money is worth more. So every time she swears, she puts money in my swear jar. American. So by now she's built me a castle. Now all she's got to do is come up and build it.
It's not even a jar anymore. It's a jug. It's this massive.
It's a
That's
keg.
great.
It's a wine keg.
It's a trash barrel. It's just full, and I need the covers coming off.
Mhm. I got a new one in the backyard.
Yeah. Kathy, I miss you, Kathy. Oh, what a wonderful gift. Yeah. I mean, but everybody, if you can, and you see in your child, I think this is really important. If you're, as an adult and looking at your children and they are talking to an imaginary friend or whatnot, find out who that imaginary friend is because it might not be an imaginary friend. If they're exhibiting abilities, there are so many venues right now to teach kids, and put them in the right direction and in the right classes. And like your mom did, by putting
Yeah.
you in with the correct people and getting to meditate, that space, that sacred space is so important.
Yeah, it kind of, I guess it kind of gave me an early insight into how important it is to be in the driver's seat of your own experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Mary Jane with her kids that comes into our chat rooms a lot. Her kid's so gifted, her gift Logan. Remember Logan who was doing cards for us and
Oh, right. Yeah.
but she knew that right from the beginning and and was helping him, which now and in our days, we're older. We won't say how old, much older, but we're older. But in our days, it was frowned upon as as children.
Oh yeah.
And I was raised Catholic. Like I said, I was a good little sort of Catholic girl, altar girl. Except the priest always just turn around and look at me and give me an evil look because I would play with the wine and oil and cling, 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 and the bells. And I was like, oh. My mother would shake her head. My father would giggle because my father wasn't Catholic. But, it's like, I'm a troublemaker.
Nope. My father's an atheist. He will not step foot in the church. Will not do it. He'll sit in the car, in the parking lot, and that's it.
My father was an atheist. He was a scientist. So he decided to become an atheist. But interestingly, in the years before he passed away, he got into spirituality, which was really interesting.
That's good. My daughter scares me sometimes because she tends to be like that. Well, I don't believe in that. It's like,
eventually, I think everybody realizes that there is a higher power, no matter what you call him or her. I believe God's a woman, so hello. But I think if everybody eventually steps into believing that there is a higher power, there is somebody, something, somewhere that is higher than they, and just sort of guides their hand in a little way, guides their path in a little way.
Positive, proven to me. God shut my mind off that one time. I just said, if there was a God, whining like a little kid, if there was a God, it'd shut my mind off and crossing my hands like this and go to sit on my couch all wham, bam, iron curtain. Saw the eyes wide open. I saw pitch black, and it was to bam, and it was that heavy that it startled me. And then I came out of it, and I was just like, oh God, okay, now I'm going crazy. Okay, good. but it was a love tap from God. You're gonna dare him, he's gonna prove it to you. So be careful what you ask for and wish for, and always. But I want to get back to
the book,
the book, the concept, everything, and more specifically, the masters. Do they have like a specific message that they really want to get out there to the world? Is there something really important that they are using you to tell?
Well, I think at least for the last 12 years, we've been talking about the imminent shift in consciousness and what that's going to mean for the planet and how that affects us physically, emotionally, mentally, what that's going to look like in the structures that we live in, how things are going to be done differently. And that information's been coming through for a long time now. Of course, it's happening now. We know it's happening now because we're starting to see it externally. We've all been feeling it internally for quite a few years now, but now we're seeing evidence for it because now the externalized systems and structures are starting to falter. And really, I believe that this information is coming through, and we're sharing it in the way that we have been and will continue to, so that people can not only cope better and know that they're not going crazy because things are changing and there's nothing really wrong with them, but also to try and understand that when you have a particular dimensional reality, the laws for that dimensional reality and how energy work are particular to that. And when we go through a huge shift in consciousness and a shift in vibration, the laws of or mechanics of how things work change. And if you don't know what they are, it can make life a little bit difficult. It's very difficult to create change in your life and to naturally follow those internal instincts to create things or move in a particular way or do something that's really important to you if you don't actually know how to walk in this energy.
Exactly.
And so this is what we really talk about is this is how it works now. This is how time works now. This is how creating works now. This is how growth works now. This is how movement works now, so that you don't feel like you're a complete failure because what you used to do that used to work for you suddenly isn't working anymore.
Yeah, and that we go through periodically in our life anyway. Everyone goes through, what physical change, mental change, spiritual change. We go through those steps, phases. Anyway, but now globally, is it happening all at the same?
It's now happening on a mass level. And when it happens on a mass level, it isn't just a question of how am I thinking differently, how am I feeling differently. That's all a part of it. But it's now, holy cow, the world is different.
Exactly.
How do we do this? We don't have any prerequisite for this. We don't have any reference for this.
That's right.
It's all new. Exactly. So then how do you cope with new? How do you find comfort in new? And indeed, how do you build in new?
Trust.
So, right, spontaneous action, moving into agreement with things, which is a lot of what the book's about.
Yep.
But also what happens with that is your thoughts work differently, beliefs are different now, our bodies are functioning differently, everything's differently. It's people have been talking for a long time about moving to a new earth. I don't think a lot of people really had the idea with that concept that actually everything was going to work differently.
Right. Yeah. So your new earth is the same earth, just a new earth.
It's how things work. It's different.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and when you said that, the agreement part of the book, it is you describing a scenario, and that is the agreement that you have with that scenario. So that's that for what I did read. Now I can't wait to read the rest, and I will be discussing things with you. I hope you don't mind.
No, that's all good. There's always more. I mean, I go through and have a look at this book from time to time, and it provokes more questions within me as well. I really see this book as an invitation to kind of catapult you into the new, so that you can go, oh yeah, okay, now what? Yeah. Now what do we do, and how does this work? And it's exciting times.
I could listen to her talk all day and God, I miss it. It's like one of her favorite places.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing to say. Come to Australia. We need more people who are awake.
Okay, it's on the tour list.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to, but I only would come when it's cooler. I couldn't. There's no way I would go down there with 113 or more degrees. No,
just give me shade and I'll be fine.
I would melt. I would.
You just need a beach and a cold beer, and you'll be absolutely fine.
And an umbrella. Right here, 5 minutes sun. I look like a lobster.
And a portable air conditioner unit face me as I walk around.
You need one of those young men with the fans.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And JoJo said, I miss it dearly.
You can find them.
Yeah, it's like when we see, I watch shows on TV, like like the opal people, going out and getting the opals out in the I don't know, dirt. The desert,
Oh, opal, did you say?
Yeah.
opals. Yeah.
Oh, out near Cooper Pedy, maybe. Out in the
Yes,
desert.
and
Yeah.
in the desert, and they're digging in the dirt and everything else, and they're dying and melting, and bugs and everything. I'm just like, no.
Oh yeah, the bugs. That's true.
Okay, but wait a second. Also, Australia is also well known for its spiders, I believe.
I know you get crazy
yes.
things down there, but you also have koalas and
Snakes.
Not where I live. We don't have koalas, but we do have. Yeah, and I live on a property where we have all of that, which is really interesting because when I get friends that come and visit, they just they can't believe the scale of things.
Yeah.
They're like,
I'm the weird one.
God.
I like spiders and snakes.
Yeah. Well, I don't particularly like snakes very much because I have pets and I worry a little bit about that sometimes.
Well, I don't like the ones that are venomous that I can live without.
Wait. You're gonna worry
well,
about
that's pretty much all of them.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm on a bush block in the hills, so we have all of that. But when I have friends, because I have friends, from the States or from Europe come and visit, because I got friends everywhere. I'm so lucky.
Nice. Yes.
And
you can come visit the States.
Victoria. It rains a lot in Victoria.
Yeah.
So they come and they're like, oh my God, there's this huge spider in my bedroom. Can you please come and have a look? And honestly,
it'll be like this tiny little thing, so not.
It'll be like this big or something. Where you get them the size of your hand.
This big.
Yeah, so that
no. Nope.
But
Nope. Don't.
She'd go down and she'd bring me with her. Mama D, could you just check my room? I'd be like, okay. Because I put them back outside.
The Ghostbuster backpack thing? I have a vacuum that looks like that. It's
she slept with it once.
Wearing that. You come at me, spider.
Yeah, well, I do have a habit from when I was a kid. I still lift every toilet seat.
Oh
yeah.
Before I use a toilet.
Nope.
I think, Rebecca, you'll be coming to the States before Gina goes to the show.
Yeah, but then I'll still be checking under the toilet seat.
Well, that's all right. And it might be something you speak. It might be under there.
Maybe.
That's about it.
Not Gina's house. Gina slept with her vacuum, okay? She got 5 spiders in one day, and she slept with her vacuum that night. I said, look what spiders are trying to tell you. Could you do that before you go sucking them all up?
Yeah, they do. They are deliverers of messages, and it wasn't really a bad message. So I did. I heeded the message and everything, and I didn't see the million spiders again. However, the last spider, though, I'm sleeping in my bed, and my arm is just over the edge and crawled on my arm. That was it. Then I lost it. So it was like I vacuumed everything. The whole entire second floor got vacuumed, under my bed, up behind the big, huge headboard. I shook everything out. Bob's like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like,
Spider. Spider. I'm surprised he has to ask now.
I know. The vacuum's going, spider. But everything, I can't stop. I have to vacuum everything. Yeah. So
we just learned to live with them.
Down there, I have to have it with me constantly.
Uh-huh.
So now, okay. Again, we'll reel it back in. Now, this is fun. But I do want to get a lot of information from you. But what is? Just describe the.
Okay, hang on. Before you wait a second. Wait a minute. Before you start, it's 59. Let's do our commercial break, and then we'll be back in 4 or 5 minutes.
Can I? Because this is the last one just about her, and then I'm going to go on to about Earth. Can I ask that? Okay. All right. Just on an everyday, what's your life like as a channeler? I mean, is it just like constant? Should I do this? Are you asking? Should I go here? Should I go there? Are you asking, or are you just being?
No. So many people have said to me, do you get all the advice and wisdom? And it doesn't come for me the way it does for other people. And it's a continual exercise in trusting how I feel about something. So my feeling state becomes my guidance. I don't get the luxury of having a conversation with the masters like other people do. And I guess, like I couldn't find a teacher. It must be for the same kind of reason, to learn how to be completely sovereign and independent in my knowing. But, I've often wondered why my life isn't aesthetically easier than it is, because, I'm a single parent and I got a kid that's a little bit different and is homeschooled, and, there's been a lot of drama in my life.
Yeah.
And I've often thought, well, surely if I'm doing this kind of work, then life should be a little bit easier than this. But actually it's not. And I realize that it's so that I can integrate this into the human experience. And I think that I have had friends ask the masters before, popping it in seminars and things, down in the back row, sneaking a question in for me, as good friends do.
Yes.
Why is it that I've had a lot of challenges and difficulties, and I continue to do with my practical life? And they've said, well, unless you actually know what the human experience is, how on earth could you talk about it?
Exactly.
How on earth could you talk about how to integrate this stuff into human life?
Yeah, you don't know the good without the bad. You don't know the evil.
You have to know what this is. You have to know what the human experience is, with the whole gamut.
That makes
so
sense.
Yeah, I think I'm squeezing several lives into one this time, so that I can do that.
It's like, I'll be prepared for the next life, but for right now, I'm learning everything I got to learn. Not that I want to do it.
I got 5 lives worth.
All karma is ending with you. There's going to be nothing but forward after this life. All right. We will play our commercial breaks right now. So about 1 minute, one's 3 minutes, the other's about 2. So we'll be back then.
Okay, cool.
The Fox Den is now proudly sponsored by Vortex Ghost Gear, one of the leading fabricators of paranormal equipment. Bob Christopher is the founder and creator of Vortex Ghost Gear. He has decades of investigating, starting with his team at NEPA, and as lead in the popular local TV show Ghost Detectives, he has experience of how spirits could be seen or heard. Using this knowledge, he has manufactured equipment for specific scenarios of spirit manifestation and communication. He is the only manufacturer of the popular lifelike trigger prop cats and dogs. Using proximity meters wired to lights and sound, these prove to be highly effective communication devices in the field of study. The HTO, another Vortex exclusive, allowing specific items to be the highlight or trigger of your investigation. For example, place the item on a metal tray or attach directly to any metal object such as keys or glasses that continue to go missing or moved. Ask the spirit to touch the item. The HTO will light. It has a sound option as well. This device was used in Travel Channel's Ghost Nation with great results. The Dome, a static detector, can be the most useful device in your gear bag. This is to back up the theory that the spirits manifest using static electricity. Using several, you can track a spirit, for example, walking down a hallway, setting off each as it passes. The geophone detects vibrations. This is another way to track movement. If a claim is footsteps in the hallway or stairwell, set the sensitivity and place the device in that area. Its band of lights will show a range of vibrations from the slightest tapping, lighting only a few lights, to the loudest thumping, lighting the entire range. The Easy Scan ghost boxes are very popular due to the ease of use. They are custom decorated to the individual or team using them. Bob programs and uses an Arduino-based computer scanning FM waves to potentially communicate with the spirit realm in real time. Every box is unique and all custom hand decorated by Gina Bankston. The V-Pod has a special place for those who love the idea of REM pods. Use this sleeker, smaller, easier to transport device. It is a must-have in your gear bag. Take your investigating to the next level with many of Vortex Ghost Gear's unique and custom creations by Bob Christopher. Visit www.vortexghostgear.com to view all the products and get your equipment today. You can also investigate with Bob and Gina with Ghostly Excursions, taking people to some of the most haunted locations in the USA. Visit www.ghostlyexcursions.com and join us on our next adventure. Hello everyone, I am Gina Bankston, proud host of the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, airing every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can watch on my personal Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our many growing Anchor FM venues such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, Spreaker, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and more as we grow. We are also doing occasional pop-up free mini reading shows and shows with special guests on other days and times. You never know when we're going to do a show, so go on over to the YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, subscribe and hit that notification button to never miss a show. Why am I making this video? Well, quite simply because I make all my own show ads and bio videos for my guests, and many of you have asked if I can do this for you as well. Well, the answer is yes, and I'm calling this P-Fox Advertising. I can make you a banner, picture ad, or a video ad for you, your products, services, or events. Treat your guest special with a bio video ad if you're like me and doing your own podcast. Or if you're going to be a guest on a podcast and you want your own special opening video using your own voice or mine. You can also run your ad on the Fox Den. I can create the ad, or we can run your pre-made ad. You can also be a sponsor of the Fox Den. If you choose to run your ad on the Fox Den, for the shows you book, the ads will be seen and heard live on YouTube and Facebook, as well as our Anchor FM venues. Prices vary for content, duration, type, lengths of time, and that's it. So what are you waiting for? Contact me, Gina B, at gbfoxinvestigates@gmail.com.
And there's some fun chats going on in the chat room over here between
George.
Mama D and George. George stopping it. Did he leave already? How rude.
No, his neighbor came knocking on the door. George and I used to do a comedy podcast
They can sit and watch together then.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Right. Okay, for everybody who's listening, I will be popping all of Rebecca's links into the chat room, and they will also hit the chat room in the YouTube channel maybe later this evening. Once the show's over.
So there's all the social media links are down below. We have, if you want to book her as a speaker, you can go to info@RebeccaDawson.net. If you want her website, www.RebeccaDawson.net. And seminars, courses, live streams, live stream conversations, www.RebeccaDawson.net/events/ and private consultations, most importantly, www.RebeccaDawson.net/product/session/. All of those things will be, Mama D will put them so that you can actually click on the links. The Instagram, I have the Facebook, all these things are going on the ticker down below us. So again, if you are listening to our Anchor FM venue and listening to the audio only, please go to our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D. Watch the video. You will see the books, you'll see our cute faces, and all the links, which is very important to see because you see the beautiful Rebecca down here with us. Mama's okay too.
And I'll just let people know you can get the first chapter of the book as a download when you jump onto the website for free. It's such an important chapter about the body and what's happening with that right now. So that might be interesting for people to know that they can access that.
That's beautiful. That's perfect. And also I want to show the other books, your other books that you have too. So you have The Game of Purpose and then The New Human Experience. Which one came first?
The New Human Experience. Okay. So that's the basics about what's happening between the shift of 3D to 5D, what that means and how that looks. So it's a really practical, simple, this is exactly what's happening and why.
Now, if you notice on the bottom of this, let me get that banner up. If you notice at the bottom here, I have this little guy with the bullhorn. That means tell your friends, people. That's what that's there for. Okay, I want y'all go tell your friends about these books about Rebecca. I just kind of snuck that in there, but in case you just didn't, notice it by yourself, I figured I'd point it out for you. So now we have a lot that we want to cram into this hour here. So we're going to talk about the Earth reality. All right. So how would you describe what is happening on the Earth right now?
Well, right now
Understand.
okay, I'm going to be as simple as I possibly can. So right now, I mean, it's something that hasn't really happened before. Is we're having a reality shift where the collective consciousness of humanity, so the entire all of humanity, is moving from one version of Earth to another version of Earth. And that doesn't mean that physically we're moving to another place,
Right.
which it means that vibrationally we're shifting up a gear. And when you shift up a gear, the whole mechanics for how everything works changes. And essentially what it does is it unlocks things. So in a really, really simple way, how I would describe it is that how life has been for us in 3D and 4D, which is tied to that, is like a hoop. So you're rolling a hoop along the floor, and that's how life has been for us. You know, you look at the clock and you look at time and you look at the karmic cycle and you look at your life's journey. We need momentum. We have to keep things running in order to make any progress at all. And we kind of keep having the same themes over and over again, and life after life after life. And we inherit the same traits and the same traumas, and we're very repetitious, right? We have patterns of behavior.
We've been doing a lot of shows on that, like the cellular level,
Got it. Okay, cool.
Then,
Exactly. So that happens at a cellular level with our DNA. It happens with the way our minds are wired for memory, where everything that we do, we loop back to, do we have a reference for this? How does this fit with what we already know? And so it's very, very difficult to do anything new. We always just do new permutations of old, like music and fashion and food and what new is happening. You know, it's difficult.
Love you, girl.
So if we look at what we've been in as a loop, you know, a lot of people have been talking about coming to the end of the karmic cycle, for example. What does that mean? Time as we know it is changing. What does that mean? So it's a dimensional shift is like that loop having to slow down so that it can become a sphere,
right,
or a ball. And so what happens is that this loop that we've been in is starting to slow down. And our lives are starting to feel like it's the hoop that's slowing down. We don't seem to be making as much progress. We're wobbling a little bit. Because unless you've got speed, the hoop starts to wobble, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm feeling a bit wonky. And I might even fall over if I'm not careful, which is where a lot of us are right now with our identities and our bodies. And everything seems to be going haywire.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the dimensional shift is that hoop now where you could only roll in one direction in a linear way is now becoming a sphere. And what that means is it's opening up a whole new bunch of directions and pathways that we couldn't see before. And it also means that we can now roll in any direction. We have more ability to experience more. We have ability now to really start to explore a little bit more of who we are and what our world is. It just gives us more capacity.
She just, Taryn just came in, so I'm late. I know, awesome show, my
Australian.
She's good. You have to ask about an Australian accent.
Well, it's not a super strong accent, I do admit. If I was from Queensland or something, it would have more of a twang.
I don't know. I can see it. I know, but it is great though, isn't it, Taryn? Yeah, Jojo loves you. Jojo's in love. So
So we move from being in a hoop where we can't really see very much. We can only really see where we're trying to go or where we've come from, to being in a sphere. And when you're in a sphere and say you're at the center of a sphere, suddenly you can see out of every direction. You get a better view. And when you get a better view, you start to have more choice. You stop doing what you've always done. And and you start going, wow, what can I actually see now and what is possible? And it's really opening up our view of life, of who we are, of where we sit in the galaxy and beyond.
Right.
It's about expansion.
Right.
From a hoop
now
into a sphere is expansion.
Oh, yeah, hugely. But do you think, like, everybody being home right now, that this would be the perfect time to look at this and explore this? And what are your thoughts on that? Like, with the
Absolutely. This is such an amazing opportunity to return to self, to actually get back to our sovereignty. Because when you're in 3D, everything is about comparison or distance. I mean, that's the whole point of duality. You measure where you are by referencing something else. How do you know you even exist unless you're in relation to someone else? How do you know how far along you are in your journey unless you're measuring it against something or someone? Everything is measurable by distance, and that's the Maya, that's the illusion of 3D, that's the duality. So when we start to move out of that, what happens is that there's a return back to the power that we really have, which is within us. You know, the universe exists within us, the cosmic center point.
Right.
And how we know that's happening is that we're starting to unhook from those external reference points that tell us who we are and how well we're doing. It's very difficult to measure your sense of success right now with what you're relating to in the world, because now what's happening is everything out there is starting to wobble.
Right. Right.
So we're actually unhooking
get
and
back
returning back to self.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that makes total sense. It's like the whole world is in Mercury retrograde, right?
Right.
When you're at that point when everything's just like, chaos and crazy energy and everything.
I also kind of equate it like when back in 2012 when they were, oh my God, the world's going to end in 2012. And I kept saying, it's not going to end like, it's going to end the way you know it. Things are going to change. Minds are going to open. That's the only way. That's because that's when I became Mama.
I think
right.
I think the big shift, because we did just enter the age of Aquarius. Also, I think that has a big part of it. I mean, that's
Well, I don't think we realize how much our systems and structures push us along. You know, we think we're progressing well in life. We learn to walk, we learn to eat and speak, we go to school, we learn a profession, we succeed with that profession, we climb the ladder, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Even in terms of a spiritual sense, you know, moving up the ladder of initiation or spiritual hierarchy, that kind of system, we're actually putting our energy into a system that's moving us along.
Right.
But are we actually moving as a consciousness? To me, that's a little bit like, being a chicken in an egg and the egg's rolling along the ground and you're going, woohoo, look how far I've come in my life.
I think that's how
I like that one.
Every civilization starts like that. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's like a new beginning. It's like a new chapter. It's a whole new realm.
But it's the momentum of the egg rolling that's actually progressing. The system's moving, the chicken.
Yeah.
But it's not until that system slows down, the momentum of the egg slows down and comes to a standstill, and it starts to crack open, that we actually discover what movement and growth is. What is expansion of consciousness? It's when the chicken gets out and learns how to walk. Yeah. Now I can go in whichever direction I want to. I don't have to just move in the direction that the egg's being rolled.
Right. But you got to be open to it too. You got to be watching it. Otherwise, because everybody like blindly, fumbly walks through life and goes and just, someone comes with that big boots on and crashes that egg, and then it's gone, and and they move along. You got to be open to it. Look, watch for it. Understand. When you get these messages and these impulses and these feelings, to explore them and to trust them and to know that they're given to you for a reason.
Well, I think the difference is now, and this is what we haven't experienced before, is now it's happening collectively. So now it's not just a personal, my life is shattering. my world is upside down,
Yeah.
you know, either because my job's gone or my marriage broke up or whatever it is, my identity's gone, I don't know who I am anymore, I don't know what my purpose is. It's happening for the entire planet.
Yeah.
And what we're starting to see is that the egg is all the systems and structures that we've been pushed along by.
Right.
That's starting to falter.
Right.
So yes, we experience it personally, but I think we can take comfort in looking outside of ourselves or beyond ourselves and saying, holy cow, this is happening for so many people right now. It's a collective shattering.
It is. The word needs to get out too. You know, people just, like I said, you have to understand the knowledge has to be out there that this is why this is happening. There's a reason this is happening, you know. And the more people like you can put out books like this and tell your story, tell your, you know, your theories, and it's the truth. It's you're getting the truth out there of what's actually happening, you know.
Yeah, it's a perspective that hopefully can make sense to people who are looking to make sense of what's happening.
Yeah, and I think more people are willing to listen now because of this. We're going to go into the COVID moment there, because everything is shutting down and people are not going to work, going to school, going to whatever. They can't go out and do whatever they. This is the point where people are listening to different things that are out there, different opinions, different messages that are coming through, and listening and taking the time to go, hey, you know what, this is opening up people's minds to the possibilities of what ifs. And it's not just a what if anymore, it is.
Right. And people are getting super uncomfortable because the egg has slowed down. Mm-hmm. And now there's not that momentum that you're trying to keep up with in life. I'm trying to keep up with my schedule. I'm trying to keep up with all of my busyness. I'm trying to keep up with my bells. The momentum of the egg has stopped. All of a sudden it's like, it's a bit tight.
Yeah, right.
I'm a bit uncomfortable. I'm not really stimulated. I'm not really happy. And you know, that it's not until everything stops that you start to realize where you are and say, you know, this isn't really working for me. Because we're so caught up in the momentum, we don't actually stop to ask those questions. Is this really working for me? Is this really supportive of me?
Jojo,
or are you supporting it?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Jojo says, do you think the pandemic has caused the new changes? Now,
good question.
It is a really good question. I don't think it's a cause of it. I think it's a symptom. I think it's a, an effect.
I'm in accordance with you with that, Gina. I feel that if we look at this as a cause, we see it as a problem to be solved. And I think you can go crazy trying to solve a problem that's unsolvable.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that with, doom and gloom. It's to say that let's not focus on this as a problem to be solved, because that's another loop that's taking us back and back and back, rather than this is symptomatic of the egg slowing down so that we can actually break out and start to walk in new directions. So I think, having channeled this information for, so many years now, that it was going to happen. The final barrier, the final frontier of this paradigm shift was going to be us seeing the systems and structures around us start to break down, so that new ones can be created.
There's no other way. So
right.
This is a symptom. It's a catalyst. It's a, it's
and so watching it happen, it's like, here it is. It's happening.
And
it's been happening inside. Now it's happening out there.
When, we were part of that when it all happened, so that's kind of a cool place to be. Now,
and it's fascinating to me. Sorry, I'm just going to jump in. It's fascinating to me that what we call COVID, is all about this fear of life and death that's driving it. But it really is about living. Mm-hmm. It's like, what are we going to do now to actually feel like we're alive?
Right.
That's the focus. And so it's kind of really interesting. And I just love the humor of the universe, that it's about a pandemic that's life and death, but it's actually really about humanity now needs to learn how to live.
Yeah.
And that's where we are.
More and let the earth heal, which is a huge thing, and let that energy build back up. I mean, all the guck that we put in the air, just for lack of a better word, that stops energy cold in its tracks, that the earth is coming back, the energy is coming back, people are more connected. They're connecting more like this. It's not like we're alone. We have technology. You know, we can talk with people, but it is that connection is being, and this, we're talking to you from Australia.
Yeah.
How wonderful is that?
It's to me, it's so cool because it's like the more contained the structure and system became, the egg's trying to hold itself together, the more connected we're becoming.
Exactly. And this is the only way that it's ever going to happen. It needs a catastrophic thing. The world, I sad to say, has to fall on its face before it will actually get back up and do something about it. And it's always been that way. And people are the same way. You have to hit rock bottom before you pull yourself up and fix yourself. You have to, and I wish it wasn't. I wish it wasn't the case. I wish you could just snap out of it and get on the bandwagon.
I just so believe in humanity. I have so much faith in humanity. I'm in awe of humanity. I love humanity. I love humans. I think we're inherently amazing beings, but we're asleep at the wheel in a rolling egg that doesn't allow us to be the greatest that we can be.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to believe in ourselves. We always see ourselves as the problem. Humans are the problem.
Yeah. JoJo's a chemist, so she's like, yeah, I wish it could be solved mathematically. That's the only absolute. I know, because you are definitely, you're that way. You gotta just.
We got to go back to 0 point.
And that's again a few of our shows that we've been having. It's gearing up. Everything that we've been having lately is gearing up a lot to this. And some pretty amazing stuff. If you pay attention to all our shows, people, and our guests, we have amazing guests. This one here, this is like culmination of everything that we've been bringing you. This is the reason why. So you're like next level.
Well,
it is.
For most of us, it's your next level.
I don't know. I mean, I just love being able to say I don't know. Because I don't know. I think it's a great thing to be able to say I don't know. I think that allows you to know more.
Yeah, you're channeling the information of the ones that do know. Yeah. So Darlene says, life has changed as we know it, pulling up our britches and finding a good and figuring out how we make our life better for ourselves and others is the way we move forward. Yeah.
Remembering who we are. We're okay, Humans are okay.
What are you doing? Stop it.
So I put it up there. I was going to try to take it down, but you just goes, okay, I'm not touching nothing.
I put up JoJo's absolutely. So, all right. So anyway, all right, let's get off the egg. And we've been talking about the 3D and 4D and 5D. Now, multiple dimensions, the 5D, things like that, those things kind of throw me off. Explain like how you see it, how it works. Like 5D. What exactly?
5D? Okay. So let's have a look at some of the fundamental differences in the mechanism of reality between 3D and 5D, because I think that's the simplest way to describe it. So we looked at a hoop. It can only move along a line. Compared to a sphere, it can go in many directions. That really is the premise of what's available in 5D and how we operate and move in 5D and manifest in 5D compared to 3D. So when we look at 3D, everything is from A to B. Everything is a linear construct. We have to take steps. We have to progress. There's a process involved in anything. Nothing's really instantaneous. Everything has a mechanical process, and there's time in there. And every step that we take requires a donation of energy. And what I mean by that is, for me to push this mouse across the desk, I have to have a buildup of energy and donate energy into it, and so it moves. And then I have to do it again, and then I have to do it again, and then I have to do it again. So it requires consistency of donation of energy. that kind of cause and effect takes a lot of effort and a lot of consistency and a lot of practice. And that's how we apply things in our everyday lives. It's like pushing a ball up a hill. As soon as you take your attention off it, it regresses. And that's how we sort of see our lives. Unless we keep our foot to the pedal, nothing's going to change or move. So it's a very labor-intensive creation experience. Mm-hmm. When we start to move into 5D, we start to get out of creation with concerted effort and energy donation. And we start to create and manifest things, not in one direction, but in multiple directions, like a starburst instead of a straight line. And that is based upon the premise of resonance. So when you're in resonance, which means you're totally aware of yourself, this is the sovereignty, this is the return to self that's happening now on the planet. You're so aware of your own existence and your own energy that you start to, in this spherical way, have other things show up that resonate in the same way. I mean, quantum physics has been showing us this in its infancy over some years now, that this is actually a universal law, that creation happens out of resonance. Mm-hmm. Now, when you look at resonance and you look at something here completely aware of its own field and its own existence, and then something shows up here to agree with it, well, yeah, there's this here as well. That's cool. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's no donation of energy that's happening there. This entity or person or aspect of life is not sacrificing anything to get this to happen. There's no labor involved. There's no distance to traverse. And there's no sacrifice that's made.
Wow. It's
a complete awareness of self that then generates an amplified experience of yourself. So everything that you begin to experience in your life is an amplification of you. You get more, you get more, you get more, you get more. So we've understood this before in terms of thought. And if I focus and I put a lot of energy into this thought, it can create this thing. But when we start to just have an idea or an inspiration, oh, I would love to experience this, and it just shows up, that's creation in 5D. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're moving to now. We're moving to more instant manifestation. We're moving into creating experiences that allow us to experience more of ourselves instead of coming up against us and creating friction so we can learn from it.
Yeah, I'm tired of the friction.
We now learn through an expanded experience of ourselves. So it's a completely different premise.
Right. What's the outcome? What's the goal?
Creation. Because if we're going to create a new earth or create a new reality, we have to be able to come back to source and begin again from there. What is it that we want to create? I want to experience more of myself. I want this experience, this experience, this experience. And so we don't create things that are naturally in opposition to us to create that friction so that we can grow. We now create things that enable us to engage with it. And now what else? What else? What else? What else? What else? So this is how you create realities. And it's actually how humans are designed. Our DNA is actually meant to be spherical, and it was in the beginning.
All right, that's the next thing. So now we go from global and we go back to human, human nature and human, general physiology. All right, so talk about that. Talk about that as the original human as to where we are now.
So, I mean, it's all a question of scale. It's the same principles playing itself out in the macro and in the micro as well. So as humans, with this earth, as the masters have shared with us, was designed to be the galactic Garden of Eden, which means it was designed to have an incredible array and diversity of life. Every species, no two living entities are identical in this world. That's how it's supposed to be, down to our voices. No two voices are alike. No two genetic blueprints are alike. No two plants are alike. No two fishes in a school of fish are alike. There's always a point of difference. Mm-hmm. That's what this earth is designed to do. So if we know that, the earth must have an incredible capacity to accommodate life. And yet we've come to believe that earth cannot accommodate this volume of life that we have. And we've come to believe that the way forward to sustain ourselves and to survive is by creating life that is consistent and replicated. We even tell ourselves that we reproduce as humans. No, we do not. We create.
Just like an out there question. If everything is different, what about cloning?
Well, I would have to look at that, and I would see that personally as a symptom of reaching the peak of the 3D experience. Because when the mechanics of life here begin to try to exactly replicate life, we've come really to the end, in my view, of 3D reality. Right. Because that is not what this Earth reality was designed for.
Right. I could see the point of maybe trying to save a species with cloning, especially one that we have put on the endangered list by being human. Like I could see using cloning to save a species, but I can't see cloning people. I'm sorry, I just can't.
Just one of me is more than enough.
I find it difficult to see cloning as saving a species. If we look at agricultural practices that the Atlanteans started some 300,000 years ago or so, it's much longer than we think. This was the beginning of replication. So you have crops that are all exactly the same. And then we start to breed animals for agriculture that are all exactly the same. And then we start to go through the Industrial Revolution and build factories that produce the same article over and over again. When something's handmade, everything is slightly different. That's natural law. Yeah. So we are now, even with our daily schedules and lives, we wake up and we often do exactly the same things every day. This replication, and indeed our value of ourselves and our sense of success has come in how well can we replicate our experience. If I'm a lawyer and I won a case, I'm doing really well if I win every single case.
Well, that would be the point.
Or if a kid can, write a sentence and then write that sentence perfectly over and over again every time. It's not natural, and it doesn't ignite in us our greatest capacity, which is to create new things, which is what this earth is designed for. So nothing new is happening here. And that's when consciousness will expand beyond that to create a new paradigm so that we can once again step into our greatest capacity as humans, which is to come up with new things and create. And it's what our lifestyles don't give us permission to do.
Right. But then again, necessity is the mother of inventions, so what is it that humanity needs? That's when they put forth the effort to create, is when something is needed. When they don't know what is needed, they can't create it. So then you have.
Do you know what I think we need? I think we need change.
I do too. We have to. The planet's not going to survive if we don't. I mean, it's not what we need. It's a necessity. It's more than that.
It's the nature of life, is continual expansion. But when we're so obsessed with repetition and doing things the same way, that expansion is not happening. We keep going back. It's that hoop. We keep going back. We keep going back. The clock gets reset. You wake up every morning. It's another day. It's the same routine.
Yep.
Round and round we go.
Yep. Rats in a maze. In the same maze. Keep going. Yeah. We fear change. And when you were talking about fear, Mama D, before, like fear of the unknown, fear of this, fear of that. Yeah. People are not willing to step off that cliff, even if they know that there's a acrylic walkway there. They still won't step off.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. Yeah.
No,
but I yeah, one George and one Mama D is all any world can handle.
But yeah, that's talking about cloning.
We're still in the cloning in the chat room, but I think like Jojo says, even clones are slightly different at the genetic level. I think each one of us, if everything was the same, this, okay, us, depending on what we're doing the same of, this world would be like extremely boring. And I think that for me, I like the idea of new. You know, because if I have to keep doing the same old, I'll go lose my marbles.
Definitely. I like new experiences. I like learning things and never stop learning. I mean, that's why I read a book a week at least. With all these, I'm always learning. I'm always, I'm trying to expand what's here, what's here.
But
And
you and I are special.
try to put it out there for people
Well,
to understand too.
I think we're becoming less comfortable with predictability and repetition than we used to be. It used to
Yeah.
be, as a humanity, repetition was highly reassuring. And there was safety in that, in knowing what to expect in your week and being able to plan. And I know that this is what I do at this time of day and this is what I do at this time of day. I think we've seen that in previous generations too. But there's generations now coming through that are finding predictability extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a good thing actually. Now, out of these questions here, there's this one. It's kind of cool. What are some of the forgotten inherent capacities of the human physical form? Like, what is forgotten?
She likes
Well,
that.
Smile.
well, I think people like the three of us have been exploring that. What comes so naturally to us? Is that really something that's such a unique gift just to us? Or are we demonstrating what all humans are actually designed for? I feel that the internet, for example, is kind of, it's a bit of a cosmic joke, really, the internet, because it shows us how easily information is transferable and how easy it is to connect, and yet we do it in a structure that's external to us. I feel that every new innovation that's happening on the planet now is a demonstration of what our inherent capacity is. Why do we need externalized technology to remind us of what we can do with these bodies?
That's an awesome answer. Like reading the question, I'm just like, well,
we know we can communicate without words. We know that we can share information and do downloads and uploads. We know that we can completely balance out the cells in our body, either through engaging with someone at a distance or by touching them. We know that we have an incredible intelligent system within us that sits beyond time and space. We know that we can be in multiple times at once. We know that we can be in multiple places at once. We can do all of those things. And as technology begins to be experienced externally, it will remind us that we can do it.
Yeah, my hands are tingling like crazy right now. My ears are
Our bodies are incredible.
My hands are tingling.
But the thing is, a lot of people don't want to admit it. It's like sometimes Gina and I will be on a show and I'll just, because I normally don't just butt in, but lately I have been. I'll put my hand up and she's like, what? And I'll come up with the exact same question that she has, maybe a little worded a little differently, but the premise of the question is the same thing. And that's our way of connecting without connecting. But a lot of people go, oh, that's just, coincidence, or, it's not. It's not. We can do everything that people are putting into movies. It's just that we don't believe. It's just that we don't believe it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's
we've forgotten.
Yeah,
we've forgotten, and we don't give ourselves permission to play with it, to make it an exploration. I mean, I have, there are people who are really, really interested in these concepts, but they make it a very, very serious business. And it needs to be very light. It needs to be play. It's like children. My gosh, children are so telepathic. They can do so many things. They can be in so many places. Why? Because it's play to them. As soon as it's serious, you put a container around it, and then it's limited.
That's what I used to do with my friend Rosie, because she lived in the big mansion on the hill. I was the peasant in the valley. But we would connect. We always watch the ESP shows and everything, and we would, really just focus and try all the time. And we'd be like, all right, we're going to go home. We're going to both think of something different. We're going to show up at school the next day with what you thought that, I was doing. And no shit, right? Sorry, language. Right, $1 for the swear jar. But I thought about curling hair, right? She thought about curling hair. Now her hair was straight, and she put in. We both did this. We both put in. My mom put in rag curls in your hair. Right. I look like Shirley Temple. It came out. I was like Shirley, and her hair was so straight that it came out like long and wavy. But we both thought the same thing, and we both did the same thing, and
Mm.
showed up in school and was just like,
Yeah.
what? You know, and but we used to do that all the time, as kids. And I think as kids, you are more of a sponge to allow this information to come in, and that's why I think right now it is so imperative and so important again to teach your children if they're showing the abilities, and the interest in these
That's
fields
true.
to
That's true.
develop it.
Allow them
It,
to be themselves, not to be who we are, what we think
Yeah,
they should be. Just allow them
yeah,
to
and
be.
it's not black and white. This is not a black and white field. It's all gray.
well,
It's not. It's everyone has different abilities. Like you can channel, someone else can channel, but they channel differently. Someone else can, there'd be a room full of 20 channelers. They're all going to channel something
all
different.
different,
Mm.
Yeah,
but all perfect and all
right,
valid and
and
all beautiful
all
spectrums of
needed,
light.
and all
Yeah.
needed.
And
Yeah,
all
Yes.
make up the totality of our world.
Yeah.
It's all valid.
Yeah.
it totally is. All right, now we got JoJo. JoJo's being the chemist over here. She's giving
Oh, yeah.
all this information on DNA and RNA and everything else. So you guys, again, if you're listening to Anchor FM menus and whatnots, you got to come and watch this show. Stem cell research is created by body parts at a cellular level right now. Some are still in research levels and not used, but there are huge advances.
Well,
Yeah.
this is interesting because I've been involved in stem cell research for some time now. And when I'm over in the US, actually, I help out a little bit with that because I can see into the cells and into the body and the DNA. So sometimes I get asked to come in and when there's trials going on and things, so they can get an idea of what's happening.
All right, back up.
But
Back up. How do you
the stem cells are
look?
interesting.
How do you look into a body that you see DNA and you see the stem cells? What is
Well,
that?
it's the same. It's the same as when we're looking at the energy fields. You get
Okay.
the overlays, and we can see what's happening at a very fine level. But interesting that your friend there brings in that about stem cells. Yes, and what's interesting about stem cells is that, in my view, and I'm not a scientist, but my experience of that is that they are completely in potential form. They're in potential form rather than the actualization. And so when you approach a stem cell and you're very clear about, it's not a word I really like to use, intention. They can become anything. And that's what's exciting about them, because I think in many ways stem cells demonstrate the true nature of ourselves, is that we are potential and we can become anything. It's when we think that we're already actualized and we're already in form and this is our blueprint and we're set, that our choices are gone, and we're not really acting in sovereignty. So the sovereignty of stem cells, I think, is just beautiful. I love them. I get very excited.
I know this is. I'm chalking this one up to one of my all-time favorite shows, like ever. I am enjoying talking to you so much.
You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Honestly, I think your message is awesome and so needed. Well, what do we got for time? Oh my goodness.
JoJo says she studied genetics in college.
Oh wow! I don't have a scientific background, but I wish that I did, because there's so much that I see that I have to try and describe without having knowledge of what it is.
I want to ask all these questions, but it's like I know our time is running short, so I'm going to skip something here. But I don't know what are the symptoms or experiences that we can experience during these awakenings.
Well, I think one of the most common, if we look at as far as how you're feeling about yourself, I mean, there's a lot of physical symptoms that happen, of course, and one of the big ones right now is heart palpitations and changes in breathing and sleep patterns. So I'm actually doing a whole seminar on that coming up in a couple of weeks. Yeah, because
How does one
so many
feel
people are
part of that?
experiencing that. Or you can just jump on the my website and sign up. And it's a live stream, so you get the recordings and you can ask questions and all of that as well. So because so many people have been contacting me with heart stuff, and I've been experiencing it as well because
Oh
I'm
my
not
God,
exempt.
I've been saying I've been having fucking heart failures all the time. I
I had a heart
all of
attack.
a sudden having anxiety attacks or something because I've never had
Yeah,
anxiety attacks in my life.
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. So
It's funny how you say the heart's working it, because I'm doing this keeping track of my heart and the steps that I do during the day, and I take my heartbeats every day, the same day. And there are some days, and I'm just sitting here chilling out. And there's some days, for the longest of time, for 2 weeks straight, my heart rate was at 90 something, and people are like, "That's a little high." I was like, "No, it's just I don't feel any different, but I know it's going a little, you know." And lately, it's been going down, so we're down to the 80s and the 70s. But so it's interesting that you say it's,
they are very high heart rates right now. So so that's something. I mean, tightness in the head, that because there's new energy centers coming online in the body now, because our frequency is increasing. There's lots of things, like there's pressure at the back of the head and the top of the neck because there's a new gland that's coming through there. I believe actually some scientists in the States have actually discovered that now. But that links the pineal to the voice, so that you can start to speak about something before you have reference for it. Communicate before you know it or can edit it, which is really important, because we can start to speak more wisdom from the heart. So there's things like that happening. There's a lot of swelling in the fingers and toes at the moment as well, in the extremities of the body. There's a lot of fluid retention that's going on. So those things, I mean, I talk about every month. I do a little mail out for people that explains all the current symptoms, so people don't have to freak out so much. But I think one of the biggest things, once we get beyond the physical stuff that we're all experiencing, is the change in sense of identity for people, and the disillusionment that's been happening for people, losing a sense of purpose, not really knowing why they're here anymore, not feeling complete, particularly attached to anything. Things that used to get really, really excited, you're just not interested in. And so there's a general sense of apathy, hopelessness, lack of direction, sometimes interpreted as depression, that people are going through, that is part of this unhooking from external references for your identity. So it's a challenging time in that respect. And unfortunately, a lot of really sensitive, awakened people have chosen to exit this experience in recent times. Right. I think probably all of us who are listening know of somebody or have heard of somebody who is very sensitive, has chosen to do that. Yep. So that's a big thing we like to talk about as well, because it's incredibly important, this sense of disillusionment. And I think that's an important word, disillusionment, because the illusion of the reality we've been living in is becoming less available to us. And so we think that somehow we're disappearing, but actually it's the reality we've been living in that's disappearing.
That is true. All right, what is our awareness of skin, and why is that so important right now?
Skin is such a cool subject, and I hope that and I believe that medical scientists and researchers will start to come to understand skin a lot more in the years to come. And I think that's probably beginning now as they discover new layers to the skin and how the nervous system works through the skin. So if we think about, because everything is a question of scale, if we think about cells and the membranes of cells, our skin is not too different. So our bodies are not actually containers. Our bodies are doorways or portals, and our skin is the interface between the cosmic reality and this 3D reality. So there's an awful lot of information that's flowing through our skin.
Yeah, things that can manifest.
You get the goosebumps, right?
Right? Yeah. When you feel like your hairs are standing up.
Isn't that where you often feel it first when you have a paranormal experience? Is your skin, right? Because your skin has receptors in it that are multidimensional.
Yep.
And it can not only sense things, it can also relay information too, which is why touch is so important.
I wanted to come up with a piece of equipment to use with paranormal, because people are always saying, I feel cold spots, I feel hot spots, I feel, and then there's a crosshairs, there's a thing that does
Yeah.
hot spots. Then I said, but I want a thing about the skin. I want something that touches the skin. And they actually do have a thing for electronics that you can, you have to ground it though outside. You have to put a rod in the ground, and it comes through. It's a machine for electrical fields in your house, actually, but it will register, like on your skin. I'm like, we need to modify that somehow to pick
I'll
up
have to get on it.
going
That's
on your skin.
skin is where it's at. That's going to be a very hot topic, I think, in human biology in the next 5 years.
Yeah, and things like Gabriel Cousins was saying, like his very spiritual journey. A lot of things that he was going through, burning karmic stuff, but a lot of things manifested on his skin.
But did you notice one of the things that linked what Gabriel said to what Rebecca was saying? Enjoying it. They're not actually working at it. You have to enjoy it. It's play. Right. To him, all the stuff that he went through was just play. That's how we learn, with making things more interesting. I've seen, how many shows have I seen on paranormal? Well, my fans in the paranormal investigations, when they're all somber and they don't get much. But when they start to laugh and they start to enjoy themselves, they get more connection. So it's play, whether we're here in the physical world or in the spiritual world. Play and laughter and all that stuff comes together.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely, because life is meant to be a joyful exploration. Yeah. We take ourselves way, way too seriously.
Well, I know a few people who do that.
I think we take reality too seriously, actually.
Yeah. Sometimes. Hi, Lacey. Can you hear her? It's not me. It's Lacey. All right. Why is the understanding of our physical design so important for understanding our Earth reality?
Well, I think we touched upon this briefly before about our ability to create, which is incredibly important. But I think one of the key concepts, it is that lies are talking in the body. That's true. And probably the most intelligent. So when we look at our bodies in 3D, what do we see our bodies as? We see them as containers, right? Yeah. Vessels for spirit, or vessels for your personality or your soul. It's how I always understood it in metaphysics. But what I've learned through understanding fifth dimensional and multidimensional reality is that we've kind of got that all wrong. Our bodies aren't actually containers. Our bodies are actually doorways or portals. And once we understand that, we stop trying to get out of our bodies or away from our bodies in order to expand and become more intuitive or ascend. And we actually start to go in and explore in there and get into the space between spaces in your cells and get into the 0 point fields inside your body. And that just opens up everything. I mean, our bodies in essence are multidimensional doorways. And so our whole, I'm especially growing up
talking about this.
I get so excited because I spent so much of my life trying to evolve and ascend and get somewhere so I could get out of here, only to realize that all of this denial of the body, and it's all about spirit, it's all about vibration and stuff, it's all right here. I'd been journeying away from the doorway.
Yep. And you just had to stop.
Instead of just going, oh my gosh, it's actually this. It's actually this. This is the answer.
Yep.
And that just blew my mind, because I realized that every single thing in my life that happened since I was born was to direct my attention away from myself.
We're taught that, aren't we? I think that, like, as a society, even we're taught.
Look over here.
Don't be selfish, don't be this, don't be that. You know what I mean? Like you're geared to not taking care of yourself, not looking at yourself, not whatever, because everyone else has to come first, or being a mom or whatever, the child has to come first, or being, in a relationship, the spouse or the significant other has to come
Oh
first.
yeah.
Everyone else has to come first.
And service beyond yourself.
And right, all those things, so you always put yourself last, and you always, so you look at yourself last, besides the superficial.
That's right. I know all about that.
We all know all about
Oh,
that.
yeah. I think if we're honest with ourselves, we all know that.
We all know what a life of service has felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Of course.
Totally.
But how can we be of service and be the fullest that we are?
Yeah.
I feel the answer to that is to be completely loyal to self. Because when you're completely loyal to self, your presence becomes the service for humanity.
Mm-hmm.
When you do the things you love that's right for you, that makes you the best version of yourself that you are, everyone benefits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that's that distinction between donating and sacrifice energy to get things working, to being completely yourself, and then creating resonance with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like this. Oh my God, can we?
I know. I want to keep her too.
I love your question so much, and I know that there was one that popped up about chakras, and I won't go into that today. But I talk about that a lot in the first book. What's happening with the chakra system?
I'm sorry, but did you get that? She won't talk about it today, but that means she's gonna come back.
Yeah, we'll do a special time. We'll do a special day because I know we're booked like till December, whatever.
Oh, you guys are amazing.
But I would do a any day of the week that you want to come back on and have continued conversations. If you want to talk about chakras, if you want to talk about more in depth channeling, anything, because I just love this. Really is. I'm chalking this up to one of my favorite all time ever interviews.
Oh, thank you. It's been beautiful being here. I love the flow. I love the synergy of you guys together as well. What a beautiful team you make.
Oh, I think so. I love her. It's opposite. If you haven't noticed. My poor dog is struggling over here. What is going on with you? I'll be done in a minute. She said, she's getting old. I can't help it. I can't. Should I ask the last question? I know we're 2 minutes over, but this is it. This is the last question that is on the list, so I'm going for it. So why is sovereignty such an important theme for humanity, and how does this inform our capacity?
Well, I think that's everything we've been talking about. When we return our attention back to self, back to the body, begin to being of service to ourselves, we begin to open up. We begin to turn from hoops rolling along into spheres. We become more of ourselves, and we actually begin to choose from self instead of choosing from what the options being presented to us are. Because so often right now we're finding ourselves in situations where, you can choose this or this, and I don't actually really want either of those things. I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
But I don't want that.
Okay. All I know I want is chocolate. So I can.
Or I don't believe that or that. I don't know what to believe, so I'll believe this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that.
Trust your gut. Trust your instinct. Exactly. Those are divine.
We say that how many times? How many times a day do we say that to people?
Yeah. Trust. You don't know what to believe. Don't believe any of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Throw it all out. But okay, again, here are the other books. All right, The Game of Purpose, The Agreement, which is what we've been talking about today, and The New Human Expanse. All right, so all her books are Amazon. They're go to her .net. Where's the dot?
And lots of free channelings on the website and on YouTube as well. So lots of messages in there. I put out new stuff all the time. So
Rebecca Dawson's everywhere. Just check it everywhere. Subscribe everywhere. Share this show, please, because this information is really vital. It's vital to our,
sanity
forward as a, humanity and our global existence. It's relatively important. I mean, it's that important. But thank you so much.
Thank you too. It's been a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much.
All right, we love. Where's my exit video?
There
it is. I got it. All right, I got it. All right, so we will have her again. Trust me, people. Share the show. We will see you next week. Actually, next week on Tuesday. So we're going to have another messed up week. We're going to be here Tuesday, 8 to 10 with Pat Alva Craker. All right. See you then.
Thank you again for joining us for another episode in the Fox Den. We're here every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you a variety of guests, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and our anchor venues. We would love it if you would go to our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, and please subscribe, share, and definitely hit the notification button to never miss a show. We'll see you all next week, and subscribers, watch for our pop-up shows as well.